Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe for all of you guys. But basically, happy birthday, Grandy. I hope you enjoy this present, and I'm gonna just get into it. Happy birthday, Grandy. Happy 90th. I hope you enjoy. Later. Happy birthday again. What was it like growing up for you?
Well, I had a happy childhood. I had people around me who all loved me. My grandmother called me Dobie Doll. I do remember one time, though, that I was very hurt because I had gotten A's all through my life. And here I was now in, I think, 10th grade. Mm-hmm. And I had zoomed through algebra. It was no problem. And all of a sudden I got into geometry and I got a B. And my whole family, they couldn't believe it. And they called a family meeting because I'd gotten a B. And my little brother Freddie barely skimmed by, and they thought he was doing great.
Uncle Fred?
Well, yeah, uh-huh.
That's because you never showed them anything any better than
That's right. And he was a very bright boy, but he just didn't try. And I had never had to try until I got to geometry. So anyway, they made me so, I was so unhappy over this that I did try, and I got the A then the next time, but I never took any more math courses.
What was your house like growing up?
Well, when I was very young, my grandmother ran a boarding house. The house still stands, and I can remember a lot of strange people living there, being at the dinner table. My grandmother was a great cook. Then I can remember that we lived on East 14th Street, East 14th and Grand, and that was the place that I really feel I grew up from, because I was a teenager there. I began my teenage years there.
What's a boarding house?
So it's like a regular house, but people rent like bedrooms out, and then they feed them there.
It's like a hotel in a sense?
In a sense.
Well, yeah, but
Like an
on a much
apartment,
smaller.
I get the picture in my
Okay.
head. Yeah. What was like a typical day for you like?
A typical day.
Let's just say like your high school years.
Well, as I said, the beginning of my high school years, I lived on East 14th and Grand, and we were right there on the bus line, but I wasn't very far from school, so a bunch of us would walk home.
Were you born in a hospital?
No, I was not. I was born at home in this boarding house that I mentioned before. My grandmother was there. Of course, there was a doctor there, but my grandmother was overseeing everything. She always oversaw everything.
You said that you up until geometry you got pretty much straight A's. Like, what was your favorite subject in school?
I liked history. I was very good at history. I was good in almost every subject, actually. I was a good student.
It was pretty easy getting through school.
Yeah, it was. As I say, I graduated third in my class. There were 93 in my class, and I was number 3. Number 1 was, he became a rocket scientist, and number 2 was a psychiatrist, and then there was me.
Do you happen to remember the rocket scientist's name?
Yes, it was Jerry Barsky, and the psychiatrist was George Mamo. Remember very well.
Were you popular in school?
Yes, I was.
Oh. What was that like? How did it feel to be popular back then?
Oh, just something I took for granted. It was my life.
She was always popular.
Yeah, you give me popular vibes.
I do?
Yeah.
Oh, good-o.
Can you share any memorable experiences you had growing up? From your youth that influenced you today?
Well, my grandmother ruled the roost. Meant that she was the boss. And she pretty much told everyone what they were supposed to do. And they did it. And usually she was right, I'll have to say that. The only time I can remember that she was wrong was the only time I ever stood up to her. And that was when my stepmother contacted me to let me know that about my father, whom I hadn't seen since I was a baby. And she said, you have a sister and 3 brothers.
You were 18 years old?
I was 18 years old. She was able to contact me because she saw my picture in the newspaper. At that time, when a person became engaged, they put their picture in the newspaper, and it told where I worked. And so she called me there at my place of employment and told me that they would like to meet me. And I went home and I told my mother and my grandmother. My mother didn't say much, but my grandmother said absolutely not. And I thought about this, and this was one time that I stood up to her, and I said, I'm going to do this, and I did. And I have been so happy that I did.
How did it feel? Like you were, I'm guessing you were a senior in high school or
I was 18. I was out of high school because I was working. I was going to school at night. I was a January graduate.
How did it feel being young and you stood up to your, was it your stepmom? Or
I stood up to my grandmother because
okay.
I wanted to meet my father and these new siblings that I didn't know about. And I'm so happy that I did.
What was it like meeting them?
Well, I fell in love with them, all of them.
Was
I really
it awkward?
did. Yes, awkward at first, very awkward. Mostly between my dad and myself, but that soon smoothed itself out, and we became very close in the later years.
So you were 18, and how old were they?
All right, my sister Barbie was 14, Larry was 13, Jerry was 12. He wasn't, no, he was 12. He was 3. He was 3 years old, and Mike was 1. But I thought my stepmother was a wonderful cook.
How often did you see them after that then?
At first, not so often, but then as time went on, quite a bit. And especially in later years, I used to go over to my dad's, and because my dad played the guitar, and I sang with him. And I was the only one of his children who sang with him, and he really enjoyed having me there to do that.
Are those one of your fondest memories?
I think so. Yes.
Are there any others that you recall?
Well, I have many fond memories, and I'm not sure that I can single anything out. Right?
I remember one memory you have that always stuck with me is when you, Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
Your memory about that.
Oh, about that. Well, I'm not sure that's a good memory.
No, I'm not saying it's a good one, but it's one that's memorable.
Yes, the day of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, I was...
Second World War started.
Second World
Yeah,
War. I was 6 years old, and I had a white fur snowsuit. And God, I was cute. So they took me. They took me outside, and they were taking pictures of me, and everyone was paying so much attention to me because I was so cute in this white fur snowsuit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everybody went inside because there was something on the radio that was more important to them than I was. And I was not very happy about that.
It was only the Second World War.
Well, yeah, the Second World War had just started.
How did you react when you understood, or were you too young to understand?
I don't really remember the rest.
Well, I remember another
Connor.
story is that you used to collect tin foil and go. You said you'd make a little ball and make it bigger and
Oh,
bigger.
yeah,
and
we did that for the war effort. You'd strip the inside off of the gum wrappers and things, and we'd save this tin foil. Save the tin foil, win the war.
How did that help?
I don't know. I was just a little kid.
You were just following along.
Yep. I was doing my part. I can remember during the war that, of course, we couldn't buy butter. So Uncle Freddie, my Uncle Fred, my mother's brother, would drive us out with my grandmother to a farm around in the area, and she'd buy cream or something, and she'd put it in a big mason jar and churn it and make butter. But I remember my grandmother was raised on a farm, and she was one of 11 children. She was also a twin, and she told me that she'd get in trouble because she'd ride these horses standing, one leg on each, like a chariot driver. Yeah. She was quite a gal, my grandmother. I can remember her dancing a jig and playing a harmonica.
Were you an only child before meeting your other siblings? Or
no, I had... My brother Fred was 5 years younger than I. And then when I was 17, my mother had Linda. And then when I'm 22 and married and I have a child of my own, she has her last child, Buzzy.
How old were they?
Well, I was 22 when my last sibling was born.
How do you from kids today? Like, how do you feel like they're different from when you were a child?
Well, you don't really feel much different. In my head, I'm still this young person, and then I look in the mirror and I get a rude awakening.
You don't look a day over 60, Grandy.
I'm younger than I do. Then.
Now I look in the mirror now and I see my father. I look nothing like my mother because she had dark hair. I feel that I grew up in a much softer era. I feel that I was a 50s girl, and people were kinder to each other than they are today. I honestly feel that. And, well, for one thing, I never had a drink until I was 20 years old and married.
Maybe it's not an important question, but like, what was that like?
Oh, God.
What'd you have?
Well, I had a martini.
Oh, dear God.
I know.
That's a horrible one to start with.
I know, and then I had a Manhattan.
You were trying to be so sophisticated.
Well, I'd heard of these drinks all my life, and I just was wondering about them. And I was really sorry. I don't think I've had either drink since then.
No. I'm guessing that's a really bad drink.
Oh, they're very good. Oh, they're very good, but for a person who'd never had anything to drink, they're pretty lethal.
Ooh.
Yeah, that wasn't very bright.
Did I ask you like what was like singing in the band?
Oh, no, I enjoyed that, and I was sort of a backup singer for the Don Hoy Orchestra, because I was dating him at the time. So that's probably why I got the job. But I was a pretty fair singer.
How old were you when you started singing for them?
Oh, when I was probably 30.
30 years old?
Yeah. But I had sung forever, because I used to sing with my dad, and
That would have made me about 5.
Huh?
That would have made me 5.
Yeah, somewhere. I was 24 when you were born. Go with me to my dad's house, though, and he'd bring what did he play? The clarinet, I think. And my dad was so impressed. And I remember one time for Christmas, many years later, after I was married to Jean, he gave Jean a cassette with him playing with Don Hoy.
Dad didn't like that.
Jean did not appreciate that very much.
Speaking of mom, she said, mom over here said she was like 5 years old. What was it like giving birth to your children when it
Well,
happened?
I'll tell you, it was hell. It took me 18 hours to have Ricky and 11 hours to have Jenny. The only one that was really easy was Rusty, and they did knock me out for that.
What do you feel like being a mom?
Well, I've always loved my children, but I've never really cared much for kids.
How do you feel now you have grandchildren, including me?
The same. I love them, but I think I love them just because they're mine.
Not a real kid person.
Yeah, I am not a kid person. You're right.
Because in the most respectful way, you're not like the stereotypical grandma.
Probably not.
You fought me over that cookie that one time.
I what?
You fought me over taking your cookie that one time.
Well, did I win?
No.
Oh, well.
She didn't? That
No,
surprises me.
I took a bite out of spite.
Oh.
No, I've never been a typical grandmother.
Yeah. But you're still a great one, though.
Now I am.
How did you and Grandpa Gene meet?
Well, I went to work for the law firm where he was a partner. And I went to work there first as a secretary. And then later, a few years later, he opened his own firm and I went with him as the office manager.
What would you consider your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement, that I'm still alive at 89.
How does it feel that you're almost 90?
I don't like it. I don't like being old, but there's nothing I can do about it, so I've had to learn to live with
As
it.
you've always said, consider the alternative.
That's right.
But like, considering you're almost the healthiest out of the family, how does that feel? Before the heart attacks, anyways.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I never took any medication until I had my heart attack almost 2 years ago. But anyway, they gave me nitroglycerin, and I had these chest pains while I was at work. This was many years later after Gene had died, and I was out at the can company where I was the office manager. And I had these chest pains, and I took some nitroglycerin, and it didn't help, so they rushed me to the hospital. And they said, well, have you taken anything? And I said, I took nitroglycerin. Mitral valve prolapse, that's what they called it. And they said, the doctor there said, well, nitroglycerin won't do anything for that. And I said, well, then why in the devil am I taking it? I didn't prescribe it for myself. And I became very angry.
Because doctors don't always know what they're doing.
Well, I don't know why it was prescribed for me if it didn't help me. Because it about blows the top of your head off once you take too many of them. After that, I took nothing for many years until a couple of years ago when I had my heart attack. And then they put me on blood pressure medicine, which was stupid because my blood pressure has always been normal. And then that medicine made it so low that they finally took me off of it, and I'm not taking that anymore, thank goodness.
Going back to like your family and meeting your brothers and sisters, like what do you value for friendship and like family?
What do I value? Well, I value my brothers and my sisters. And I lost my brother Fred last year, and that hurt a lot because he and I were probably the closest. I love them all. I'm very close to Barbie. She and I are very close. I talk to her almost every night. But about the nicest thing anybody ever did for me was their birthday party that Rusty and Ginny gave me here at this residence. It was my birthday, October 20th, and Rusty and Ginny were going to pick me up for, I thought, a brunch. So they picked me up, and we started out of this apartment and went down the hall, and there's a pub they call it, and we could hear some noise coming from there. And I think Jenny said, well, there's somebody in there now.
Well, you said, what's going on down there? And I said, I don't know, let's go look.
And I said, well, we probably shouldn't because it's probably private. Well, I looked, and it was all my family.
But it took you a few minutes for it to register.
Yeah, it did. Well, I'm old.
So you weren't expecting it?
No, I was not expecting it.
If you don't mind me asking, there was a person there that you were happy really to see. Who was it? If you don't mind me.
My sister Linda. We had been sort of estranged for 2 or 3 years, but she was there.
Was it great to see her again?
It was, and we embraced, and I think she was glad to see me too.
Other than her being there, like, how did you feel about the party and everything?
Oh, I was so happy. Nothing could have made me happier than what those 2 kids did.
It was good seeing, like, your whole family.
The whole family, yes. It's the first time they've all been together in one place in many, many years. But I have a picture on my computer that was taken at one of the Christmas parties that has every one of us. It's the only picture ever taken of me with all my 7 siblings.
Let's say you and your child self, like, were at a table and talked to each other. How do you think she would, like, look at you?
Well, she'd probably think, who's that old lady?
Where'd my red hair go?
I was a very pretty child.
Yeah, beautiful.
I've seen photos and stuff of you. You really were.
What would you tell your younger self?
I don't know. I think I'd listen maybe to hear what she had to tell me.
Would you prefer, like, your little kid self or, like, maybe your, like, teenage self?
Well, I'm not sure I'd listen to any advice that either one of them had to tell me.
How so?
Well, because I'm smarter than they are now.
So what would you say to them?
I'd say, shut up and listen.
Much of a conversation then.
No. It would be interesting just to look at them, but I'm not sure I'd want to listen to them. I don't mind being me now. I just don't like being so darn old.
Well, you didn't like kids, so you weren't going to like yourself.
It wasn't that I didn't want children. I don't know. They just came. I wasn't really planning on them, or not planning on them.
When did you get into traveling?
Well, my last trip was a bus trip with my friend Sandy, and we went to the Black Hills.
But you started traveling when you were younger. I mean,
oh yes,
all 3 of us kids were
But he asked me about my last trip.
No,
I mean, like, when did you
start?
Oh, when did I start?
Each of us kids were born in different
Well,
states.
yes, I started traveling. I started traveling as a child because I went and spent summers with Mimi and Floyd in different places wherever they were. He was a construction worker, and I know I remember spending a summer in Liberal, Kansas, and a couple summers in Ogden, Utah, and just different places wherever they happened to be. And then after I married, my first husband, Richard.
What was he like?
Well,
was that mom's, like, biological?
yeah, he was the father of all 3 of my children. He was a nice man, but he was a lazy man. He was a wonderful athlete. He was a professional roller skater, and I didn't dislike him, but I just couldn't afford him. So somebody had to go. I had too many people to support, and he was the only one I could get rid of. I couldn't get rid of the kids.
Yeah, but Grandma Helen kind of put her foot down on that
Well,
one.
she did. She did. Because every time I would threaten to leave him, he'd go to the hospital. He was kind of a hypochondriac. And finally, he was in the hospital, and my stepmother and father took me out to see him. And my stepmother, who didn't even believe in divorce, my father had this Oldsmobile with a bench seat, and she put me in the middle on that bench seat, and she said, "I'm not letting you out of this car until you tell me you're going to divorce him." And she didn't even believe in divorce. And so finally, I said, "All right, I will. I'll go down Monday morning and file for divorce." And I did.
What year was this?
1964. We had been married 8 years, and I had 3 children, whom I loved dearly, all 3 of them. And Jenny once asked me, "Mom, if you had it to do over again, what would you do over?" And I said, "I'd marry Jerry." And she said, "Mom, if you did that, you wouldn't have us." I said, "Oh, yes, I would. You'd just be taller."
Can't argue with that.
I'd be taller too.
And Dunnigan, that's a cool name.
That's what I mentioned before. Like, when did you first get into like traveling the world?
Oh, well,
That was with Dad. Wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
because he was a lawyer, and he would have these conventions all over and some exotic places. I know he was inducted into the American College of Trial Lawyers, which is a huge honor. And they had the induction in Hawaii. And so that was our first trip to Hawaii. We went to Hawaii.
You guys went there a few times.
Oh yeah, we were going every other year. And then the year before he died, we took my mother, and we had planned to take my father and stepmother the next year. But then he died in March, and I already had tickets, so I took Rusty and Jenny and my father and stepmother. And I think we had a grand time. My daughter is a daredevil.
Well, we traveled together several places.
Yeah, we did. We went to London and Paris.
Greece,
And we went to Turkey and Greece.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of cruising with my friend Mary Bell after Jean died. My first cruise, he was still alive, and I went with Mary Bell. It was October. And he said, "Now don't call me because it costs too much." So I didn't call him. I didn't have to. He called me every night. And then when we were coming back into the country, I think we came in through New York. I took a picture of the Twin Towers. I remember that. I've got that picture. And we had to change planes in Chicago. And there was Gene in Chicago waiting for me.
Oh, was he?
Didn't you know that?
Uh-uh.
Yep.
Aw.
There he was waiting for me.
He was so lonely without you.
He missed me.
Drove me nuts.
And so then he had planned a trip for us. And we went we went up and looked at the leaves. And we stayed in a lovely old bed and breakfast. I remember that. It was charming. I loved that man. And he loved my kids. He was a much better father than they had ever had.
Only father I know.
And you guys grow pretty close to him
Well,
really
I know him
fast.
since we were really little, so I always loved him.
When you guys friends or family friends, and then that's kind of how you before PB and technically your father.
Well, he was still married, and the divorce took 11 years. It was just taking so long, and they were fighting over mansion, really, south of Grand. And I finally said, "Why are you fighting over that silly old house?" I said, "If you're thinking I'm going to live in it, forget it, because there's no way I'm ever going to live in that house." And he said, "Oh." So that speeded things up tremendously.
Well, and the fact that she finally got a lawyer who said he wasn't going to put up with it anymore.
Yeah.
I just thought of something that I want to talk about. Didn't you save a kid from a burning house?
Oh, well, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, sort of.
How did that happen?
Well, I was in the shower one morning. Jean had already gone to work. And I was in the shower, and I could smell smoke. What smelled like smoke. So I quickly got dressed, and I looked all through the house. and there was nothing wrong with my house. So I went out on the deck, and it was the place next door. So I went over there and knocked on the door. They had, the way it was situated was that a young boy, teenager, had a bedroom in the basement, and he was asleep. So I knocked on the door enough to wake him up and got him out of there. So I guess I did save him.
How old was he? Like 16, 17?
Yeah.
Around what year was this?
Well, let's see. Gene would still have been alive, so maybe 85, 87.
So like 40-something years ago?
Oh, yeah, at least.
So you've done so you've had a unfulfilled life.
I've had a good life.
Everybody's had at least a little something happen in their life.
I mean, you've been singing in a band, you traveled the world, you know.
I've had several men who love me.
You were engaged constantly till you met Dad.
I was engaged 5 times.
Sometimes to
But
more
I was
than
only
one person
married
at
twice.
a time.
But I was only married twice.
Yeah. But sometimes you were engaged to like 2 people, weren't you, at one time?
Well, yes.
Same time.
But that was, I never did that again.
But that's good, Mom.
It's a really
That
good
was
thing
just
to
a very foolish thing I did. Because those rings were so pretty.
Oh, Jesus.
But then I got them mixed up. And that's what broke us up with both of them.
Well, you would think so.
Thank you very much for coming on my show. It was a lovely learning about your life today.
Well, I'm happy to share my experiences with you.
And I'm glad I got the chance to ask you.
Nobody's ever been interested enough to ask me before.